Hello, it's me. Another in a long line of David's beyond mortal comprehension. And Fern, who's confused about what I'm doing, as usual. I also changed one of my many medications. So this one might be a bit of a weird one. A while ago there was someone who shared with me on one of the community posts that the subject they have the most trouble, or at least the least confidence in drawing and making art of in general, is humans. And I could go into the nitpicking how to draw noses, how to draw eyes, but I figured in trying to figure out how I was going to make this more captivating, more interesting, because like I said, I changed medication. I realized that a lot of how to draw humans start from the face and all of the little details, like, oh, this is how you draw different kinds of nostrils. But what helped me the most, and yes, I know what I'm meaning, what helped me the most in my very structured art classes and life drawing, and I don't have a lot to compare it to, but I feel like it was a very traditional fine arts way of approaching things rather than getting a book on like how to draw eyeballs. We're gonna start from the other end of things, and I'm gonna dig out some of my art school sketchbooks and start from there, because if going by this method helped me kind of encapsulate and gain more confidence in drawing human beings, then I think it would work for a lot of different people, particularly the people who have not really benefited from going out to the library or bookstore or something like that and getting a how to draw humans. Like, we're gonna do things differently. So here we go. There's obscene. Hey, guess what? That's frickin' Nightshade. Is also Nightshade. Hey. So I did find it, but then I forgot where I put my other shirt because I took it off because it's really, really hot outside, therefore hot out inside. And in case you were wondering, yes, it is ADHD medication. This is good. Okay, this probably isn't going to be strictly human anatomy, but let's flip through my college sketchbooks. These are not going to be in any kind of order, but we're going to just go through them real quick, and I'll stop on the relevant things. Design fundamentals. Basis for like graphic design and visual impact. And 2017, before I was really very confident in designing and composition, I guess. Love, curiosity, kind of translating ideas. Okay. Because I was a poor college student, surrounded by people who annoyed me, I used this in two different directions. One of the first versions of Pepper, which is the plushie that I have in the shop. Mickey Mouse. And drawing on model, which I can also do. This was my teacher. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, storyboarding. There's gonna be people in here that I don't know anymore. Cool. Well, this will be relevant also later. Draw just stuff. Even if it's like boring stuff, even if it's like you're waiting somewhere. Headphones. Angry kitty. Hey, pepper shaker. Fabric is a very, very good thing to practice, just drawing what you see, because then you can notice patterns. Haha, a roommate that I would not trust again. Hairs. Hairs. Bones. Bones. And hairs. Aha! I think this is a dude from Undertale. I don't know. More crustier than this, even. Stuff with that book with more figure drawing. I'm gonna show you guys. But so many people start out with like, oh, here's how you draw eyes, here's how you draw noses, etc. But I already explained that. So these ones are based on just the gesture line first without getting bogged down in the super details. And this is also why, and I can remind you all in the caption, the tools that I recommend getting used to and keeping with sketchbook environments. So this one, we had a life drawing class and a live model in there who would do a bunch of these different poses, but instead of just getting right to drawing everything in detail, find the line that goes all the way from the top all the way to the bottom. And let me see. So everything will be based around that, and then you already have the energy that you want. So even if something's a little bit off, you can practice that, but you at least have more confidence in continuing to practice. This is more of a perspective thing, but especially when you're doing live models, figuring out where things are planted. So this one is straight, this one is more, and this is something completely different. It's a very traditional pose for like Greek statues and paintings to do. Or like hip is one way, shoulders are another way, knees are another way. This might be a good time to let you know that even though I do kind of speak down about learning to draw strictly from a book, there are a lot of really crap books out there. I actually ran out at some point, I think it was while I was in school, and bought a just straight up anatomy book. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily an art book. If it does, make sure that it really knows what it's talking about. It could be like medical, it could be something, it could be like a vet tech book that's out of print or something like that. So practicing drawing bones helps you know where the lumps and bumps are under the skin. But that is definitely detail. Unless you really, really like to draw skeletons, because that's how I learned that I like to draw skulls. Okay, we'll get to that. This is why you want to do the gesture line first, especially if you're trying to put a lot of energy into the figure that you're doing, which is over here, because even when people are blocky, like they have really broad shoulders, they got like knobby knees and everything, there is supposed to be a curve to everything. It's what makes this organic. So this was kind of just drawing what was on the board, I think, just so I had it. And the homework that we had here is find dynamic poses and then start with the action line, but then draw the skeleton inside it, or roughly what it was supposed to be. So I'm gonna shimmy over here. So the action line in here would obviously be start from here all the way down. And then if you draw, you probably don't have this problem, but I've known people to have difficulty with the sketch lines in practice and such that I've shown you all the way back there. You really need to get used to a light touch where it's visible, but you can easily erase it. And what I like to call it is ghost circles, which is kind of like what we have here. I very often sat next to someone in college who had a really hard time doing that. And if I have something I can show you. So this, and also learn the letters of hardness in your pencils, and I can go into that in a minute. But this is right smack in the middle. It says HB. It's not focusing. But the person that I sat next to, she had a really hard time doing her ghost circles. Every line that she put down, and hopefully this improved over time. I didn't continue sitting next to her. She had a really hard time putting down something lightly, and would always, like, she seemed chill about it. So I hesitate to call it a death grip, but just seeing the aftermath of her trying to do sketches was really, really odd. And in case you don't know, the biggest reason that you want this, not this, it's the same pencil, is because this will go away entirely. And then you can practice more. So when you're practicing in here and you're trying to get an energy down first, ghosts. There we go. So this is another good example of, he does have an energy even though he is pretty blocky here. So you can still have an energy line that's straight down like that. And then I would build it around there. Kind of. You can still build it. Then there is this weirdness. Eesh. He's not really doing much of anything. The last two were dancers, but you can still head line that way, which is how the skelly turned out here. And then after more practice in perspective, it's a little bit easier to see the skeleton on the inside from a weird angle. Is that shiny? Yeah, that's a little bit shiny. There we go. Shiny? Ah, there we go. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, more tape. And more parkour dude. And it doesn't even have to be legs all the time, but you need to know what direction forces are going. So let's see if this is shiny again. So this would be the action line that I would start there. Is it shiny? It's not shiny. Oh, okay. And messing around with things not from references. Back muscles. because these are, I think the technical term is scapula. These are your shoulder blades, which is why even if someone is very, very heavy, they tend to have just a little boop, boop, and they fall back here. Hands and feet. Okay, we're done with the action line, so this is a good time to start with overlapping lines. So this video is not meant to teach you like all the ins and outs of shading and different tools and such. This is more about how you approach to things in your brain. And this page is all, I don't know if this one was from a reference, but this is what I'm looking at. So, kind of average small leg. I am going to redo the outside here. Yeah, just the outside of the leg. Okay, and not even I like feet, so I'm gonna do it anyway. Be a role model. I don't want to be a role model. Okay. Maybe not toes, but okay. So you obviously see a difference between this one and this one. What makes it, and I'm not even gonna shade in this, what really makes it is the overlapping lines, because there is a muscle that comes, someone in medical or massage therapy or something like that is gonna smack me, but I think it comes from here to about the inside here. You see? So there will be a line like this. Don't at me. Here we go. And one of my favorite things to watch for in different types of art, new artists I find, is how people like to do knees. Because sometimes people just go like that if there's like a lot of padding on the knee. Me, I do have padding on my knee, but as for on my elbow, they are very, very pointy. They have less padding on them, so it tends to go like... So with just lines, you can give the impression of dimension without having to go crazy with shading everything. Like, oh no, you gotta... So that if you have literally just one tool and you want to sketch, there's there's no excuse. I mean that in a kind way. Or if you have something like just ink. Because when I was a teenager, I would have just ballpoint pens, and so I forced myself to learn how to sketch with them. So instead of just going, oh, I can only draw like shapes and stuff, I taught myself, hey, maybe you can cheat. So there's some shading there, but you can also draw the crazy kneecaps. You can also, like down in the foot here, overlap so you can feel like the foot is coming at you. I'm gonna look back at the sketchbook in like a year and then be like, what is going on? And you can even, this is also the premise of how you get something that's covered to look like it's actually coming at you. Let's go back to, well, where'd it go? Okay. Couch arm. You can do something like Perspective plus overlapping does crazy stuff. I have a habit of going for the shading. So you see, because these go past here, you can still get the sense of something's around here. Because these are flat, you can kind of still get the shape. It's at least jelly bean shaped. Okay, I am a world-class art teacher. This is also a reason why hands are really, really hard for some people, is because there are so many little pieces that have to overlap in just the right way. So this line here bends this way, but this line here bends this way. So it gives you the impression that it comes out like this. Hi, potato. Because I am a very, very visual person, like when I do math in my head, it is literally, I'm thinking of the equation in my head as if I was drawing it down on paper. These ones have ink without the sketch of the action line, because I can understand where to put it. And again, don't at me, but there's certain things that I will not draw unless I specifically need to draw them, and you can probably guess. More hands. Which ones look more natural? Bunch of people. Doggo, I don't remember. The live models that we had were all very nice. There was one guy with like a 70s creeper mustache, which, I don't know, he had weird vibes, but he was still very nice. And also, this guy was very nice because he was definitely older, but it was also like, hey, these type of people exist, so we're gonna practice them. He was very Shakespearean in how he carried himself, I guess. And a lot of the props that he wanted to use were very, like, Greek philosopher kind of stuff. Okay, I'm down for that. How I saw myself in 2017-ish. Wait, no, that's Sydney. I have a novel. And this is, yeah. I do not self-insert Sydney West, despite what the book may tell you. Or there's probably fine arts boobage coming up. Friend. I remember when I was growing up, I did have some siblings, and they, the older one would draw quite a lot, and I picked up a habit from him of pausing Disney VHSs, and VHS years old. And so when I started doing this kind of thing, I was initially like, yep, nope, but it was okay. Long story, but this was a very good experience. Like, oh, I've done this before, maybe with like Disney princesses, but and master copies. Need to put those into portfolio stuff or ghosts. And one of many amusing things at going to school for this kind of thing is sometimes people would be texting for like 10 minutes in the cafeteria, and it'd be a great opportunity to draw some hands. You could just grab stuff. my old apartment with my little kitty, Fluffy. And break room where I worked. The whore. Shops. Shop exit. Shop ceiling. It's pretty cool. There's a coffee shop around here. Oh, she was also nice. She's very comfortable doing it. Like, very professional. And I also remember there was a comment the teacher of that class made on the hair. Like, oh, he was about to describe, like, oh, and here's how you would draw her hair. And then he looked at the sketchbook and I already had it down. And he went, oh, yeah, that works. I'm like, okay. Diversity. These were the ones. I already had her hair. He's like, oh, okay. That's a lot of fun. Growing up, I used to wish my hair was straight just because I thought it was easier to manage, but as I get older, my hair is like half curly, and it's weird, and I wish it was all... Oh, that was the zoo, Seattle Zoo. Speaking of cool hair... Get yourself some tracing paper, too, if you want to do bones and stuff. And you could, like, layer them where it's, like, bones and then muscles and then, like, skin and then, like, clothes and, like, verb. What is made? Oh, it's on the 94%. Okay. Oh, on the hybrid class. Homework was at least a certain number of, like, combining anatomy styles of animals. Like, okay, so we have a human giraffe, we have a fennec fox, secretary bird, red-tailed hawk, cat. Oh, this is the first time I heard the name Hieronymus Bosch. I think this is II and human. I just write random things in here. I'm like, what? Okay, I was also sketching some cherubs from the museum. More ghosts. We'll eventually get to the really crusty sketchbook. Oh, Seattle Ferry, if you've never been. That's basically it on there. I used to have a really bad habit drawing like super long legs, and I do still sometimes, but this guy made me like, he was very tall, I was very preoccupied in a professional appreciation kind of way, but trying to draw him, I kept thinking that I was doing it wrong, because this, yeah, he was over 6 feet, let's put it that way. African masks. If you go to an art museum, you can actually try to find the action lines in figures that you feel have a particular energy and then build it around that and see if it comes out like you want. Another painting. I wish I wrote down what these were so I could go back for them. Definitely when I was more comfortable in, you know, life drawing stuff, that I would still put faces on them. I got nothing. There's that though. Fabric study from, I think it's, yeah, it says Leonardo da Vinci. Oh! Lovely. If you have a favorite artist, particularly if they are more of a classically trained person, read like ancient, whatever, try to find something that you would like to be able to do. And one of my favorite artists just overall is Leonardo da Vinci, so when the homework was do a fabric study from this, I'm like, oh, heck yeah, I'll do that. Oh, more of the... Okay. Ah, okay. Okay. So if you study animal anatomy, you can then take what you know and kind of splice it together. Those are wrong words. But there we go. There's some more, just the like energy lines. The only thing that I would have really liked, but I don't know how it would have gone over, is if there was plus size models, because human beings generally, like, pieces of them sit the same way. But just like people say, oh, plus size sewing is so hard. Like, not if you're not a coward. Friend. Yeah, this is what I mean by legs tend to be pointy and very, very long. Okay, more into the animation stuff, but if you would like to support my work, I have a plushie of this character and this character on my shop, which you can find in the caption. But we're going to move on. I'm going to figure out what to show you guys next, and then after that, I will show you a demonstration of the principles. That's a better example of, 2017 me, I think. Particularly that one. Okay, this one is not completely full, but we have that much. Starting with aquarium. I don't know why I didn't have a pencil to go over this, because it was a field trip, but that is part of my life. Okay, there's more on the animated side of things. I can also share that at a later date, but this is more observational sketching. And yes, this was someone on the bus. Okay, this is the part nobody likes, where I show you more practice, and I highly suggest you do the same thing. Where, yes, my major was animation, ta-da, but doing this really, really... I haven't done this angle before, but I should do it more often because I can't see it. There we go. Anyway, back to the point of this. I do all of this with my phone. So because I am also a millennial who takes a lot of my own reference photos, that's why sometimes I have issues actually getting clips onto my computer, and then the computer is slow, so it's edited very slowly, and if you made it this far, thank you. On an upside, I now have caffeine. Put maple syrup in your tea when it complements it. It's very nice. I left off with describing doing practices, lots and lots of practice of different just normal shapes, but a lot of the people in my class were kind of dreading this because they were thinking that you just had to draw this kind of thing 50 times. But hey, we're in animation, so it's taking the same shape and squishing it around. And this was also from a time when I was watching a lot of Jacksepticeye. So this is the same shape. It reads as the same thing, just squished around. Like hanging out there. And that could be something that helps some of you in your future careers. Same thing here. Kind of, that has like a corner that's been squished up. And cube made of wax. But making sure that whatever comes out of it still feels like it came from in there. So this is still technically a cylinder, but it's practicing the different objects in real life that come from that same shape. Bubble tea. Random scuba lady. Work break room. AKA hell. Out of a window at a certain classroom, I forget which. Oh, teeny tiny little, like, experiments with, so tiny action line is still an action line. I think, I forget what this was. It looks like someone's walking their dog or just taking a long stride, I don't know. This was from the bus. More storyboard. Lovely ladies. It's cool. I bought a big pack of those rainbow clicky pens, and that made things more interesting. I don't remember what the story is for that. Doing a lot of practice of hands. Hands are all basic shapes that are kind of mutated, so it's not perfect cylinders. It's like squishy on the sides, which is why if you practice doing like flour sacks and like bean bags, as the case may be, it translates better too. Also the foreshortening. Just like having anatomy books can be pretty good, especially if they're medical. If you're lucky enough to know someone who is a former massage therapist, you might have access to posters like these. And if you don't have access to those, like as in-depth, you can also look up something called, probably gonna butcher how to say this, a crochet, I think. It's an artistic study that I think was largely Greek. School was a while ago, I forget. But it is essentially an art piece of anatomy with no skin. So you can look up other people's versions of that, and the name of it is basically, oh, all of the skin burned off. It sounds way grosser than it actually is. There is also an art piece of, I want to say it's Greek or Roman as well. It's one of the saints. And Catholic, so don't at me. But it looks initially like it's an a crochet wit of a dude, and he's like carrying his cape behind him. But then you go around the back of the piece, and it's more easily recognized as, oh no, this dude, like his skin pulled off, and he's like carrying it like you would a hoodie on a hike. That's also a nice art piece for reference. Back to the rest of the book. I don't know how much more we have left. Cool. And somewhere I do have larger, more detailed pieces of these, but I don't know what YouTube is going to be happy with, like as an entity. I also really wanted to show my sketchbooks because there is so much on social media, videos and otherwise, that give people the impression that you're supposed to finish sketchbook pages. And I think that's really silly. Because this is supposed to be a space where you practice, but also you should be able to look back at your practice and see things that you were able to change over time. Here we go. Back to largely animation stuff. Yeah, more thumbnails. This is a birthday present that someone gave me on the 18th, 2018, blah, blah, blah. Oh. That's also another thing, is a lot of art, like tutorials and like encouragement and stuff, is a lot of what comes across my feed, an action line and a vibe, is like all the same looking person. And that's really annoying. Like, draw skinny people, draw tall people, draw like fat people, plus size people, draw people with limb differences, and Dylan O'Brien. Go, master copies. Yeah, people with curly hair. Are we done? Not quite. Okay. Like I was saying, where are you? Draw different types of people. And I know I draw really long legs when I don't catch myself. Old people. This character has a mask on all the time, so never mind that dude. I guess jock people. Dreads, different types of noses. People with waist folds. Robot people. I don't know. So this video is already getting a little bit long, but since there is space left in a couple of my older sketchbooks, I'm going to go ahead and keep this camera here. Well, it's here. And put some of these things into practice and show you how things generally work, at least for me, in the process. And I will be pulling up, I'm actually not going to tell you who I'm going to be pulling up a reference for. I'm going to see if you can figure out who I'm drawing. And, so I'm finally drinking my caffeine. I thought this was going to be a lot easier, but people are dumb. You'll probably see what I mean. So, we're not going to be drawing. I found this instead, which I think will be just fine. Okay, and also I like this as a reference because it leaves a lot to the imagination. Oh, because this is also kind of blurry when I zoom in. Here we go. I'm just gonna draw somebody. I know this is structured a little creatively, but I wanted to show you the process that I went through using my sketchbooks, not just super polished things. It's still hot in here. I wanted to show you things that weren't super polished, and I cut out a bunch because this is really long anyway, but I tried to leave in a lot in there that show you that you don't have to finish sketchbook pages. Sketchbooks are, you don't have to show anybody if you don't want to. If you want to finish something, then cool, that's all your decision. People are terrified of not just practice, but this idea that something that they have done or made that turned out imperfectly is somehow in the world and might be viewed by some other person. And I don't, for all of the hot takes and grumbling that I've done on this channel, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I get that flipping past 50 pages of things that you don't like to get to the one thing that you liked enough to finish and maybe post on social media. But along with some of the videos I've done on paganism and witchcraft and things, it pays to cultivate the skill of being able to keep something to yourself. If you don't want someone to see it, you don't have to show it to them. If they make you show it to them, then that's a problem with them, and that's on a completely different level. But practice doing just what you see, because one of the major things that helped me in formal education in art is being able to disconnect that part of my brain that says, no, it should look like this, and then it's done and it looks wrong. Being able to shut off that part of your brain and do just what you see, because that practice still goes into your head and can still help you do things from memory later. Yes, this was from a reference, but it still looks like I drew it. I didn't do it just from what she looks like from the game. There's no real lasting harm by practicing drawing just eyes or noses or whatever, but there is a meme going around a while ago where someone would say, like, great mouth, great eyes, and then like zoom out and there would be a filter on it that makes them look like Picasso. You can draw great eyes and great individual things, but to do the entire energy and cohesiveness of a subject, you kind of have to turn it inside out and do the opposite of what a lot of social media tells you. And yes, I started out drawing with the pencil here, but then I finished it with a fine tip whiteboard marker. Don't let tools stop you from practicing. Even if it's a crappy ballpoint pen, as long as it works and it puts down some kind of line. And I've seen people paint with coffee, but it might be because I'm a little bit more caffeinated than my brain is starting to feel comfortable meandering. So I will leave you with this. Thank you for being here. This channel is meant to make traditional skills and non-traditional thinking way more accessible to anyone who can get online. So if that's your vibe, hit the subscribe button as well as the bell. You will get at least 2 upload notifications a month. I have many jobs, YouTube being one of them, but this is something that I would do even if everything was fine. I hope to see you at the next one. So until then, I'll see you later.